Morning, everyone. Thanks for joining today. What I have on my screen now is slimcd.com. That's the SlimCD's homepage. There are a number of resources from here. If you do have any questions or looking for further training or any technical support, we have our contact link in the upper right. Clicking on the contact link will take you to a place where you can either fill out a form to send an email to us, or you can send an email directly to support@slimcd.com. We also have our phone number. This toll-free number is available 24/7. There's always a live human answering the phone, and they can answer your questions. Also, if I go to the support link at the top, there are other things you can access, including video tutorials, if you'd like a quick refresher on any specific thing we've shown today, or anything we didn't have a chance to cover. There are also links to our various apps. In addition to the web-based virtual terminal I will be highlighting today, you will have access to desktop software in the form of SlimCD for PC, download on the left. Also TransClient, which is our legacy software. And on the right, you can see links to the app stores for the Android market and Apple App Store, where you can download our mobile apps on either phones or tablets. There are also various device drivers and other resources on this page. Back at slimcd.com, you'll have access to our web portal by clicking the client login button at the top. One thing I should highlight here is anyone who does card present may have access to our virtual terminal-based EMV reader, which is in the middle of the screen here. The ID Tech Augusta, which I will be using in demonstration today, is a very advanced reader that plugs into a USB port and enables you to do a EMV transaction just by inserting a card into a field on our website, and I will show you that in a moment. Once you click on the login page, it takes you to the login where you can type in your client ID, which is your unique ID or username. If you have other people or clerks who need access to the system with their own login, I will cover how to set that up later on in this demonstration. Once you enter your password, you can check Remember Me. That will have the browser save your client ID, but not your password. We do not recommend you have the browser automatically save your password for security. Once I log in, I'm brought to the main page. I've got my main menus across the top. This remains constant through all of slimcd.com. Account, config, all the way over to VPOS, which is the virtual point of sale button. If I have multiple entities set up, if I have multiple locations or multiple departments on the account, I can choose them from the drop down at the top. Down the left-hand side, I have the sub-menus. So whatever menu I've currently selected from the top, when you first log in, it will be stats, which is your reporting. That series of menus will be on the left-hand side. And across the bottom, we have access to a few buttons that give you quick access to the most common tasks, including your quick statistics, which will give you a breakdown for the day. I'll go back here. Search transactions will take you to an in-depth transaction search. List batches will take you to your batch reports. And charge a card will take you to the virtual terminal. I'm going to start with processing a transaction and work from there. We'll click the VPOS button at the top, which will bring me to the virtual point of sale menu on the left-hand side. The menus will differ slightly depending on how your account is set up. Most common links would be charge to do a quick charge of a card. Repeat customer if you want to type in information to recall a previously done transaction. You may also have VPOS checks or credit cards, which will give you the long form virtual terminal, which is what I'll display here. For the VPOS credit cards, if you have a card reader, you can click in the swipe card field and swipe or insert your card. I'm going to use the Augusta that I showed previously. The card reader will read the information into that field and it will automatically be converted into encrypted card data. Once it is read in, you will only see the first four and last four of the card. And if the name is on the card, that will display as well. From here, I can enter additional information, but since this is a card present swipes transaction, it's not necessary. I can put in the amount to charge. And I have the option of an invoice number at the bottom. This field can be whatever you'd like it to be. You can put letters, numbers, a note. Anything you put in here will show up on all of your reports. For a card present transaction where I'm using a reader, this is all I need. I can submit, confirm, and it will process the transaction. It will give me the option to print a receipt as a result. If I close this pop-up, or if I have a pop-up blocked, all you will see is the approval screen. It shows you that the transaction was approved. It shows you the authorization code. You can click a duplicate receipt to have another receipt pop up. You can click email receipt to email a receipt to your customer, or new transaction, which will take you back to the previous screen for the next sale. If you're doing card not present and typing in information, you can simply fill in the appropriate fields. Not all the information is required. However, the more you put in, the better, especially address and zip code, first name and last name. I'll jump down. If you put in an email address, it will allow you to send an email receipt without having to re-enter the email. You can type in the card number in the card number field, expiration date as well, CVV, the amount. And we have flags here for a couple different functions. Allow duplicates will enable the system to process 2 transactions on the same card with the same amount and the same invoice number within half an hour. By default, we will automatically reject duplicate transactions just to prevent you from accidentally double-clicking or refreshing the screen and recharging a customer. If for whatever reason you do need to charge the same amount and the same card number and the same invoice number, you can check this box and we will allow it through. Business card is our flag for whether or not it is a level 2 transaction. If you do not know if you're processing a business card or not, you don't have to worry. We do automatically detect if the card is a business card, and we will automatically prompt you for level 2 information if required. Again, invoice number can be whatever you'd like. One more thing, offline authorization code is only for use if you had to dial in and get a voice authorization from your processor. So that field will almost always be left blank. Once you fill in the information, again, you can submit. We detect if the card is a business card and prompt you for that purchase order and sales tax information, which can be 0 or not applicable. They just want you to fill in that information with whatever is appropriate. Once you submit, you're offered a receipt. The transaction has been processed. If you're keying and put address information again, you will get the IVS reply as to what part of the address matched. In this example, only the zip code did, as well as the CVV, which tells you if that matched or not. If I want to email a receipt to a customer, I can click that button. It'll take me to the place that pre-fills both my business email address and the customers that I filled in. If I check keep a copy, this will send a copy to the customer and to me. If I keep that unchecked, it will only send to the customer. Once I send receipt, the transaction is complete. I can go to the next one. Once transactions are in our system, they will show up in your reports. And if I click on stats, I have a number of different reports. Not all of these will be useful to every merchant, but you have access to bulk batch reports if you're submitting large batch files. Clerk report, if you have different users processing under their own usernames. A clerk report will give you a breakdown by username of who's done what transaction, as well as totals. Daily summary will give you a breakdown per day. Device report will show you based on device IDs. Each installed piece of software will have its own unique device ID that you can configure, so you can tell which phone, tablet, or desktop sent each transaction. List batches is where you can retrieve your batch reports. Your batch reports are available immediately after the batch closes. They can also be emailed to the address of your choice. You have other things, login history, some summaries. I'm going to jump down to the raw logs. View raw logs will take me to a menu where I can go to my search raw logs, as well as a date range search. Clicking on search brings you the most in-depth transaction search we have available. From this screen, you can search for any transaction done by anything shown here, including last 4 of the card, name on the card, the amount charged, the invoice number you entered, or a number of other different fields. You can also use the filters on the left to search for multiple days, or to filter by card type, amount type, or approval status, or anything else. At the bottom, I have a number of different display fields. Checking these boxes will include this information in the report. Unchecking them will take them out of the report. I recommend showing the default items. That'll give you the most common pieces of information to realize what transaction you're looking at. When I submit, that'll bring up the transactions. In this case, I brought up everything from today. If you click on any transaction in the list, it will bring up the details. For instance, here's the keyed transaction I just did. From here, you can always reprint a receipt or re-email a receipt. On the right, there are a number of different action buttons based on this transaction. I can create a new transaction, which will take me back to the virtual point of sale and pre-fill all the customer's information. This is useful if I want to charge the card again as a card on file, because the transaction type stays defaulted to sale, and I can put in a new amount, change any other information I need, and charge this card again as a card on file saved in the system, just by hitting submit. Now, if I jump back to the stats menu and the raw log search, I will have that additional transaction I just processed at the bottom of my screen. Also, from creating a new transaction, you can change the transaction type. This is useful if you want to choose void to cancel out a previous sale. A void can be chosen and processed as long as the batch is still open. Most batches on new accounts close at midnight Eastern time. So if it's before midnight, the same day as the transaction, usually you will be able to void it. If not, you can choose credit, which will issue a refund to this card to this customer. For credit, you can change the amount and process a partial credit. For instance, I did a $300 sale here. If it should have been $150, I can issue a $150 credit by typing in that amount and submitting that transaction. Now, one more time, if I go back to my transaction search, I will see all the previous transactions I did, including the sale. There's a record that an email receipt was sent, the other sale, and the credit that I've issued, all on the same card. Back in this record, I also have a button to create a new recurring. SlimCD includes a recurring billing engine that allows you to set up your customers to be automatically billed on a set schedule. When I click this, it'll take me to a place where I can set this customer up. I can adjust the name, set an invoice number to go with each transaction, set an email address to automatically receive a receipt, set the amount, and adjust the expiration date if needed. And then in the right column, I can set a schedule. Monthly is the most common, but we do support a number of different schedules, everything from one-time deferred to daily payments, weekly, all the way up to quarterly or yearly. Depending on the cycle you choose, you can set which month the transaction fires, that's for quarterly or yearly, which day for each set. So if I want this transaction to be billed on the 15th, I can set it to the 15th. You can set when the transaction starts. I will say this one doesn't need to be billed till July, so 7, 15, 18, it would be billed July 15th. You can also set a number of payments. If you leave this at 0, we will automatically bill the customer every cycle until you deactivate the record. If you set a number of payments, the customer will automatically be billed that number of times. It will count down, and when it gets to 0, it will deactivate automatically. Once I click update, the transaction is in our system and ready to be billed on the scheduled date. If you choose to use recurring billing, under our stats menu, we have view recurring. This will give you a number of different recurring reports. You can list expired cards to see what cards are coming up to expire soon. There are a number of different things you can do in the recurring setup, including set the number of days between retries, days till automatic deactivation if there are declines, hour of the day that the recurring billing runs, whether we send a recurring automated activity summary to you, the merchant, You can receive a summary when the recurring runs, so you know how many people were approved and how many were declined, if any, and whether or not we send a receipt by email to your customer. You can search recurring customers to bring up all the recurring customers you currently have. You can search by name, by invoice number, by the record ID, the unique ID of the recurring record, or by the ticket number, the unique ID of the specific transaction. Or you can bring everyone up by hitting submit and leaving everything else blank. Again, from any recurring record, you can pull up the details. You can change the schedule or anything else if needed. You can also turn them to inactive if they should no longer be billed. Once I choose inactive and update, the record will no longer be billed. Moving on to the invoicing part of Slim CD, we've got the invoices menu at the top, which gives you a number of different options on the left. Invoicing consists of two major parts. Manage Customers is our customer database. This allows you to manually save customers to our system by clicking Add Customer and creating a customer record. You can save them with a customer ID of your choice, which is searchable, must be unique to each customer. You can save company and/or individual name, address, and other contact information. None of this information is required, but if you are doing repeat customers, it may be handy for you to fill in as much as possible so you do not have to fill it in with each transaction. Once you create a customer, they're added to the list. Clicking on a customer will bring up the customer's details, and you can have multiple cards on file for a customer. In this example, I'm showing that this customer has a Visa, and I can see the last four and the expiration date. We also have an American Express and a Discover. If I scroll down, we do have more pay sources, and if I want to add more, I can click Add Pay Source and either type in a card number and expiration date to add it to this customer, or if I previously charged them, I can enter their ticket number in order to automatically associate the transaction's card number with this customer. Once cards are loaded in, if you would like to manually charge a customer at any time, you can pick the card and send to VPOS. This will pre-fill the virtual point of sale with all the customer's information. At this point, all I need is the amount in order to charge this customer. So using our customer database, you can build your own securely stored customer database with multiple cards on file per customer. It'll live in our cloud. Nothing is stored locally on your computer, and you can save and use this information with your customer's permission as needed. If you have customers in the system and scroll down, you can also see a specific customer's entire history across all their cards. So you can see all the times that this customer has been charged in the past. I can also point out that above this report, like many reports, is an export button. Export will give you a CSV file that you can open in Excel or another program with all the information in the report. So this is a 10-page report with hundreds of records. If you export this, this will give you a single file with all that information. I will note that there is no way to pull full card numbers out of our system. You will see only truncated card data, but you will see other information that you need in order to apply or sort out your payments. So under invoices, we have our customer database. We also have a product database. When I click on Manage Products, I can build a database of products by just adding a description of whatever I'm billing for, along with the corresponding price. Once you have that information, you can take your products and your customers and put them together to create invoices. When I click Create Invoice, I can choose a customer from the list. I can also put in customer information on the fly just by typing it in. From here, I can add items, and this will bring me to my product list. I can add products to the invoice. I can adjust quantity as needed. I can set a discount or even change the price on the fly if needed. The system can automatically calculate tax based on the tax rate you enter. Once you create an itemized invoice, you can add a note if you need to. Notes will show up on the invoice as well. I can send this invoice either by texting it to my customer if I have their mobile number, or emailing it to them with their email address. I can add a message along with both the text or the email. Once I hit send, the invoice has been sent to the customer. What the customer receives is an itemized invoice and a payment link that takes them to a page we host that has your business information up at the top. You can also replace the thank you for your business image with the company's logo if you'd like. You can put your own logo there. It details exactly what the customer is paying for. Down at the bottom, the customer can enter their own credit card information and fill in any missing blanks if required. Once the customer processes the payment, it is processed immediately through your account. Your customer will receive a receipt, and you will receive an email notifying you whenever an invoice has been paid. Once an invoice has been paid, it will be marked as paid in your invoices list. If I go to list invoices, I can see all the issued invoices. I can deactivate one if needed. I can resend one, or I can mark it as paid if it wasn't marked, if they paid by another means, or it will automatically be marked as paid if the customer pays. Under my invoice settings, I can set a tax rate and automatically calculate tax where applicable. I can set a due days, which will allow me to have an expiration date on the invoice. You can set your terms and services and terms of service, and this information will show up on every invoice. And you can specify the URL where your logo is hosted, and that logo will replace the thank you image on the invoice. So that's our invoicing system, which is available for free for all Slim CD customers. I'm going to jump over to config and show you some of the configuration options that are available. Most common ones include batch close time, where you can set when your batch closes. You can choose any hour of the day or night. Please note that our servers are on Eastern time. So if you want midnight, which is the default, this will be midnight Eastern time. If you were on Pacific time and wanted to close at midnight your time, you will actually choose 3 a.m. in this setting. Whatever hour you choose, we will automatically close your batch at that time, and we can send you a batch report by email if you enter your email address and check this box. Your batch report will include a breakdown of all transactions for the day. It will include their name and invoice number, as well as amount, last four of the card, and a few other fields. It will also give you a breakdown by card type, so your totals based on MasterCard, Visa, American Express, and Discover, and your grand deposit total. Again, if you do not want your batch report emailed, or if you accidentally delete it, you can retrieve your batch from the stats menu, list batches. From here, you can retrieve multiple batch reports over whatever time period you specify. Also under config, change your password. If you would like to change the password that was assigned to you, you can go here, enter your old password, and then enter a new password of your choice. One note on passwords: in our system, all passwords must be at least 7 characters long and must have both letters and numbers. Clerk web logins on the left is where you can add other clerks or other administrators to the system. In the black bar, I can set a user as either administrator or as a clerk. I can give them a username and password of my choice. Username must be unique within our system. Password must follow the same rules as before. Be at least 7 characters, must have both letters and numbers. You can also specify for clerks which transaction types they're given access to. Once a clerk is added, it will show up in the list below. If they are a clerk, you can set again the permissions on card types. You can specify if they can see all accounts or just a specific one. You can assign them to an account or a site ID if needed. You can specify if they can see other people's transactions, so other clerks' activity, or just their own. You can turn the export functionality on and off. You can also change whether or not they can change any settings in our apps, because these logins are cross-platform. They can be used on our desktop software, as well as our mobile apps and the web portal. If you need to change someone to an administrator, you can just change them to admin, click change settings, and that user is now an administrator. Change them back to user, and they are now a clerk again. You will have to reset their permissions. If they no longer should have access to the system, you can click revoke access. They will now be inactive and can no longer log into any interface. If you click restore access, they will be given access and can log in again. If they forget the password, you can click generate new password, and that will give you a password up at the top that you can give to your clerk. The email field is used as the from email when sending reports and receipts. So if you would like each clerk to be able to send a receipt from their own email so their customer can reply back on that same email, you can enter individual emails here. If you do not, we will pull the default email from your account, and that will be the from email for all users. Also on the left is close batch. This is where you can manually close your batch. Simply click the button and we will immediately close all outstanding transactions. This concludes the basic functionality of slimcd.com. Again, from SlimCD's main page, you can click Client Login at the top to log into your online account. You can also go to Support if you wish to download our desktop software or mobile apps for Android or iOS. And you can process through all three from the same interface. At this point, I will go ahead and open the floor if we have any questions.